Welcome back to the Mathquarium, a channel where we break down and simplify math concepts to help you be more successful. If you're new here, please subscribe and be sure to ring the bell to be notified when more videos are added. Today we're going to be talking about coterminal angles, so let's get started. Hello, I'm the Inky Mathematician. Today we're going to learn what coterminal angles are and how to find them. To begin our discussion on coterminal angles, we'll start by reviewing some important vocabulary. An angle is formed when a ray is rotated around its endpoint. The first side before it rotates is known as the initial side. After the rotation, the side where it lands is known as the terminal side. The endpoint it rotates around is known as the vertex. What are coterminal angles? Coterminal angles are angles that have the same terminal side. Whether they go directly to the terminal side or they go around the circle one or more times, coterminal angles land in the same place. How do we find coterminal angles? To find coterminal angles, we're going to add or subtract one or more rotations of the circle. In degree mode, that means we're adding or subtracting a multiple of 360 degrees. And in radian mode, that means we're adding or subtracting a multiple of 2 pi. Okay, let's do some examples that show how to find coterminal angles. In this first set of examples, we're going to be finding coterminal angles to 140 degrees. Let's start with a picture of 140 degrees. First, we draw a ray pointing in standard position towards 0 degrees. Then we rotate that ray 140 degrees. And this is our image of 140 degrees. Now, this is not the only way that we could land in this position. Suppose we went around the circle once before landing in the same location. Then we get the image you can see here. But what angle is this? To find out, I'm going to take 140 degrees and then I'm going to add 360 degrees. 140 plus 360 is 500. That means that 500 is coterminal with 140 degrees. We could also move in the negative direction. That means instead of moving counterclockwise, our angle moves clockwise. So if I go clockwise towards the terminal side of 140 degrees and land in the same location, I get the angle you can see pictured here. But what angle is this? To find out, we're going to take 140 degrees and subtract 360 degrees. 140 minus 360 is negative 220. That means negative 220 degrees is coterminal with 140 degrees. But we're not limited to just one rotation of the circle. Suppose we go around the circle twice before landing in the same location as 140 degrees, such as in the image here. What angle is this? To find out, we're going to take 140 degrees and add 2 times 360 because we went around the circle twice. That's the same thing as 140 degrees plus 720 degrees, or 860 degrees. That means that 860 degrees is coterminal with 140 degrees. Now, let's do a couple of examples that show how to find coterminal angles when you're in radian form. We're going to be finding one positive and one negative angle coterminal with 2 pi over 5. To begin, let's draw a picture. We'll start with our initial side at 0 radians, and then we'll be rotating 2 pi over 5. That will give us the angle that's pictured right here. Now let's suppose we went around the circle before landing on the same terminal side as 2 pi over 5. Then we would get the angle pictured right here. But what angle is this? To find out, I would take 2 pi over 5 and add 2 pi, which is the same thing as adding 10 pi over 5. 2 pi over 5 plus 10 pi over 5 is equal to 12 pi over 5. That means 12 pi over 5 is coterminal with 2 pi over 5. Now suppose I went in the negative direction before landing on the same terminal side as 2 pi over 5. Then I would get the angle that's pictured right here. What angle is that? To find out, I would take 2 pi over 5 and subtract 2 pi, which is the same thing as subtracting 10 pi over 5. Now 2 pi over 5 minus 10 pi over 5 is negative 8 pi over 5. That means that negative 8 pi over 5 is coterminal with 2 pi over 5. And that's our lesson on coterminal angles. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe. And if you want to be notified when more videos are available, be sure to ring the bell. See you next time at the Mathquarium.